put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. Yes, viewers, as we continue, certainly here in Tobago, we are in, and in fact, the world at large. We're just at about the 11th of March. Today is Monday, the 11th of March, 2024. I almost said we are into the Easter season. You see, I'm fast tracking and getting there. Certainly want to continue to give God thanks for life. I am Julian Skeet here with you this week. As well, we want to recognize and certainly connect with each and every one of you. And thank you, those of you joining us across in Trinidad, those in the region, the world at large, connecting via Tobago Updates Television. Those of you tuned in via our various social media platforms. We want to say thank you. Thank you indeed for continuing to choose the Tobago Updates morning show. Yes, it's the weekend. We're just after the weekend. It's the start of a new week, Monday, the 11th of March. And most certainly, I want to pause for a moment here to recognize and certainly celebrate. Last week, we would have had the opportunity to celebrate with our women here on Tobago Updates, and women across Tobago far and wide. And it was really an opportunity to recognize certainly the significant contributions of our women folk in various fields, various platforms at that. And as I took in the interviews and so on, I want to say kudos and shout outs going out to a number of all of our female hosts that stepped up. Kaylee Lewis, Adana, the entire team out there, Candice, stepping into the mix. I even thought I would have seen Biana hosting as well last week. But don't worry, folks, we are getting there. We bring out that potential here at Tobago Updates. But really, an amazing time celebrating our women. And I want to say particularly a standout interview for me. Most obviously, that of my very own former teacher there at Bishop's High, Miss Ramna Ryan. I really enjoyed that interview and that capture, of giving that sense of over the period of time and her journey in education, now taking on the major responsibility as principal up at Bishop's High School. And I said to Miss Ramna Ryan, and I always say it to her, good morning to you, Miss Ramna Ryan. It seems as though she doesn't age at all since I've been in sixth form at Bishop's High, and certainly even interacting with Ms. Ramna Ryan now. But I want to take the opportunity to certainly highlight and say kudos and commendations going out to all you ladies on the outside. They're doing an amazing job in whichever and wherever circles you continue to have your impact, whether it's at church, in your families, in the sporting groups, wherever you are continuing to make that significant impact in the workplace. We want to say thank you. Thank you indeed. A beautiful week-long celebration. And most certainly, folks, fellas, have no fear. Have no fear, fellas. Let me put the challenge out there to the producers and team that we will see a similar lineup when we are celebrating our men. I know you all might be worried, but don't worry at all. We look forward to a similar lineup when we are celebrating our men on the outside there later down in this year with International Men's Day. A lot happening in and around Tobago indeed. You have to ask yourself, how was your weekend? Was it a productive one for you? And yes, it's the start of the work week, so by now you should certainly be in that mode to head on in. But just before we go any further, we want to head on over to News in 90 Seconds.
Thank you, Julian. Here is your news in 90 seconds for Monday, March 11, 2024. Chief Secretary Farley Augustine anticipates the settlement of outstanding payments to Tobago's contractor this week. Vice Chairman of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Demi John Cruikshank, reported that funds were transferred on February 21st to the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries and Urban Development to pay contractors, several of whom were owed millions of dollars by the THA. However, Augustine stressed that the responsibility for issuing the payments to the individual contractors lies with public servants for execution. Minority Leader Kelvin Morris condemned the cancellation of the Tobago Jazz Experience, saying it is important to Tobago's economy. Speaking at a press conference, he noted that in 2017, an approach was taken by forming a stakeholder committee to evaluate challenges and create a roadmap for improvement of the Tobago Jazz Experience. Morris expressed that the current THA administration's sudden cancellation of this year's Tobago Jazz Experience without proper consultation or analysis has raised concerns. However, Chief Secretary Fali Augustine has long criticized the economic viability of the THA hosting jazz, saying that instead it should be hosted by private promoters. And finally, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley has extended congratulations to Miss TNT World Ashe Abrahams. In a Facebook post, Rowley expressed gratitude for her exemplary representation of Trinidad and Tobago with class and poise. Meanwhile, opposition leader Kamala Persad-Bissessar also conveyed her greetings to Ashe for securing a spot in the top 4 in the recent Miss World competition. In a social media post, Persad-Bissessar highlights Abraham's achievement as one of the most significant events for Trinidad and Tobago in recent times. And that was your news in 90 seconds.
Bright, shine bright. Brianna, I love those colors. Those colors this morning as you start this work week. How was your weekend, Brianna?
It was good, Julian. It was really good. I got a lot of rest, especially preparing for that debate last week. It was a bit hectic, so the weekend was restful for me.
Yes, and let me give some shout outs there to Presiding Officer Abby Taylor and the entire team up at Assembly Legislature, certainly leading that special sitting taking place last week, recognizing our women. In fact, I had the opportunity to be there for a few on the, my visit to the chamber in support, and I was very pleased from, in fact, my entering the compound, and the entire setup that took place on the outside, the People's House, and then flowing straight on inside, to the chamber. Always that, and heading into those doors and seeing our women folk, they're really representing indeed. Yes. Biana, what was a standout for you? Yes, folks, Biana starred. She didn't just go viewing or in her capacity for news or anything of that sort. Biana would have been one of those sitting in the chair within as members of the assembly. How was that experience for you, and one standout?
For me, the experience was really awesome in that, you sitting in the chamber and feeling how the assemblymen and women there, the experience was really awesome. And the preparation for it, though it was a bit hectic, it was really good. But one thing for me, though, is that the timing in which we had to present, it was a bit short. So I hope next year, they will extend the time.
So duly noted.
Yes,
well, I know that certainly a Presiding Officer Abby Taylor is one of our viewers.
Yes.
She's usually on lending that support to the Tobago Updates morning show. So most certainly, I know it will be taken into consideration when they do the review. Thank you so much again, Biana there. Viewers, we're heading on into our birthday shout-outs. Birthday shout-outs happening here on Tobago Updates. All right, and we get started this morning for the birthday shout-outs with none other than Kiyomi Dalrymple. We want to wish you a happy birthday, Kiyomi Dalrymple. On screen, yes, this is your time to celebrate. Happy birthday greetings going out to Vernal Beard, coming from the entire Tobago Updates family. The man himself, Elton Richardson Jr., celebrated on the weekend. And certainly, yes, folks, this is the brother of, and greetings coming from Rear Richardson George and the entire family out there. Really continuing to wish you the very best and continued blessings every step of the way, as Rear would nicely say, her little brother. All right, wishing you a happy birthday, Elton Richardson Jr. The lady on screen is our star here at Tobago Updates. Certainly one of our loyal and faithful viewers, and she doesn't hesitate whether she is on the live or she sees me in person to make that connection. None other than today we are celebrating Marilyn Spence Jofield. Yes, it's your day. So we see a special happy birthday greeting going out to Marilyn Spence Jofield, one of our loyal viewers here at Tobago Updates. On screen, we have Krista Cooper. Krista Cooper celebrating a birthday. They would have celebrated over the course of the weekend. And we want to take the opportunity to send out birthday greetings coming from the entire Tobago Updates family. Yes, and we continue with the celebrations. And this lady seems to, naturally not be aging at all. I have known her through her time in the public service. And today she's celebrating a birthday. None other than Miss Sharon Comby. And in case you're wondering about the connection, yes, as mother of Adana Comby. And the birthday greeting is going out. Happy birthday from your husband, children, and grandchildren with all the love in the world. We appreciate you and wish you the very best day possible. Yes, viewers, that might be one of the reasons why you're not seeing Adana this morning. The celebration started quite early, and certainly we want to ensure that mom is well taken care of. So we'll see Adana tomorrow, but not today. As she continues to celebrate with mom, we're wishing you a happy, happy birthday, Mrs. Sharon Comby. Continue to enjoy. All right, viewers, and at this point, we're heading straight on into our rundown, just to give you a sense of our rundown for today and who we can look forward to having conversations with. This morning, we're going to be in conversations as we speak to the team leader of Hunters Search and Rescue Team, and that's Valence Rambarat that we'll be chatting with this morning. We'll also be chatting with Inspector of the TTPS, Inspector Mahalia Bakker, certainly to give us some updates. Where are we at? Everyone wants to know in the context of, are we making progress with some of these challenges that we see facing our island here of Tobago? And today we'll also be chatting with Assistant Curator Artis, the Art Gallery, and that's Renice Benjamin, and we look forward to those discussions coming up as well this morning. So that's just to give you a little highlights in terms of some of the areas that we're looking forward to the discussions taking place. All right, viewers, we want to thank you so much for continuing to choose the Tobago Updates morning show, and we want to remind you, viewers, this is your time, this is your opportunity to ensure that you share the live, share the live, share the live.
Scrub Ties brings to you our organic fat dissolving shots. Yes, guys, our lemon butter shot breaks down stubborn fat, tightens any loose skin while increasing your metabolism. No side effects, no downtime. We also offer cavitation, cellulite treatment, butt, breast, hip dip fillers, weight loss, fertility IVs, and much more. Contact us on 495-6624 or follow us on Instagram at Scrub Ties Body Contouring. It's March Madness at Standard Distributors Limited. Get $100 back for every $1,000 you spend. Major appliance deals on Frigidaire, Hyacinth, Samsung, and more. Plus, same-day financing options available. Don't miss out. Sale ends March 31st. Standard, never beaten on quality and prices.
Time to cross the stage. boy Harry here from Authentic Car Clinic, located right here in Tobago at Store Bay Local Road. You can WhatsApp us or call us at 366-4173.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. We're just at about 7:12 a.m. this morning, and very quickly, we most certainly want to pause for a cause as we continue to recognize here outstanding celebrations in Tobago. And we want to do an anniversary shout out this morning, and this is going out to Mr. Erickson and Mrs. Brenda Stewart out there in Buku, Tobago. If you don't know them, well, I don't know what's going on with you, but certainly outstanding individuals, a home naturally built with that kind of love, energy, and vibes, as I always say, Mr. and Mrs. Stewart out there, and we're taking the opportunity to wish you a happy anniversary. They are celebrating 45 years, a wedding anniversary, and this greetings coming out from their son, Renald, their daughter, Cindy, all the other children, and certainly grandchildren, our very own youth host, Kaylee Lewis, and all the other grandchildren out there, wishing you indeed continued blessings as you celebrate your 45th wedding anniversary. And if I know this family any at all, there's also a celebration happening where there will be a meet up and a eat up and a drink up to celebrate the moment. Certainly wishing you the very best. And I also want to recognize very quickly this morning, celebrating with this week, and you'll see them on a little later on this week, the Rotaract Club of Tobago. In fact, folks, the world over, Rotaract clubs within the Rotary International family are celebrating World Rotaract Week, and most certainly they got started yesterday on the weekend. This is the week-long agenda for the Rotaract Club of Tobago as they celebrate World Rotaract Week. We want to say congratulations, continuing to do excellent service in Tobago. They got started yesterday at the Roxborough Revival Center, starting with a church service Thanksgiving. Yes, that's Miss Tobago 2024, and right behind her, President Denisha Roberts. Members, all members of the Interact, and our very own youth host there, Kaylee Lewis, all members of the Interact Club of the Rotaract Club of Tobago. And we want to say congratulations going out to you, getting started there with your week yesterday for World Rotaract Week. Keep up the great work, Rotaract Club of Tobago, and we look forward to those discussions that will come later on in this week to give us even more insight on the work of the Rotaract Club of Tobago. All right, viewers, at this point, we're heading on over to our discussions with team leader Valence Rambarat, Hunter Search and Rescue Team. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Anton. It's a pleasure to be on Tobago Updates this morning to share our knowledge with respect to our team. I want to wish the Stewarts in Buku happy anniversary as well from Hunter Search and Rescue Team. Buku happens to be my favorite place in Tobago.
Indeed. Certainly. All right, well, as we get started this morning, we want you to give our viewers a sense, before we dive on into what might be the obvious in these circumstances. Tell us a little bit about this organization, the Hunters Search and Rescue Team.
Well, Hunters Search and Rescue Team was founded in February of 2021. There was a search in Trinidad for a young lady, Andrea Barrett, and we had asked the then Commissioner of Police for permission to join in the search. We thought hunters would have contributed immensely to the search because of our knowledge in terms of how we navigate the terrain and the vegetative regions of Trinidad and Tobago. And he acceded to the request, and we conducted a 3-day search until her body was found in Heights of Arepo. Subsequent to that, we continued our way, and I just want to say we are 32 strong now. We have members both in Trinidad and Tobago, because I saw in the press where they said that Hunters Search and Rescue Team is coming from Trinidad. But all along the way, we've had 2 members from Tobago, Kester Jerry. People in Tobago wouldn't know him by Kester Jerry. So his neck from Moriah. and Verena Erhardt, the fisher folk down in King Peter's Bay, and they are our two members in Tobago. And we've had a presence in Tobago for quite a while. I don't know if you recall Atiba Williams in October of 2021, fisherman who went missing and his boat was found in Canoe. We came up and we did some diving in and around the Canoe area to try to see if we could have located him. We were unsuccessful. And sometime in October again, 2023, there was a young man missing. His name is Richard Boudou. A reward was offered by Crime Stoppers for information. He was from the Lowlands area. Easy Breezy Hotel was the last place he was seen there. And we came up. Actually, we came with the police, the anti-kidnapping unit and the Tobago police. And we do have the capacity to go undercover. We searched in Tobago for 5 days undetected in that mission. And recently we came up on the oil spill and we volunteered our services. So I want to tell Tobago our services are free. We are a non-profit organization and our real cause is to assist families when their loved ones go missing. But Anton, we've been
Julian.
dealing...
but I know you dealt with Anton with the arrangement. Julian, yes.
Julian, we've been dealing with Tobagonians from the start. There was
Very
a
nice.
lady, an elderly lady from Tobago, Scarborough. She called us in January of 2022. Her adopted son went on went up to San Souci in Trinidad with some friends on an excursion, and he drowned. And on the 6th day, she called us. And I recall us leaving 2 o'clock in the morning from our homes to catch the low tide at 6 a.m. And by 2:30 the afternoon on the 7th day, we found his body. And then there's an ongoing case in Tobago. There's a gentleman from Crown Point. His brother is mentally compromised. He lives in Trinidad, and he reached out to us, and we were able to pick him up at the airport, the guy from Tobago,
Yes,
and transport him to Port of Spain to be with us to try to locate his brother in Port of Spain. His name is Kyle Potts. So I've tried out the name there. So anybody who could come across Kyle Potts in Trinidad, we're willing to assist.
All right. What I want to get from you, and we want to move forward to what is the current mission that this hunters search and rescue team are assisting with. We are aware that we have a missing persons report in the person of Ishmael Roberts, certainly out there, and this has been since just in and around about February 28, 2024. I want you to give us a little bit about the rule and the process that has taken place for your involvement presently in this search.
Yeah, well, in cases of missing persons, what we do is that if the family reaches out to us, we would try to assist. In Trinidad, where the bulk of our members are, I mean, it's easy to move within the island. But in this case, it's Tobago, and it involves some logistics in terms of transportation, accommodation. So Ishmael's father, Dave Raphael, would have reached out to us and had a conversation in terms of his missing son. And I think what touched our hearts was when he said that his mother and grandmother and a friend, 3 women, and this was just around International Women's Day, and to picture 3 women going out there every single day since he disappeared or went missing, it was really touching to us, and we told Dave we'll come up and try to assist in locating his son. Now, the search is a bit tricky in the sense that he could be anywhere. He just went missing, and we have had no leads. His father indicated that he was unable to access any CCTV footage. And so it's speculation at this point in time. We know he's a diabetic and insulin dependent. And if he is without medication, he would go into a coma, and there are consequences, fatal consequences involved. So that is one option. And the other option the father has indicated is that he was a state witness and that he was threatened, and maybe threats were carried out, so we don't know. So the outcome may not be the one we're looking for, but I will tell you this, Julian, what we've learned. I just want to tell you something a lady told me a couple of days ago. It's been 15 years since her loved one went missing. And she told me that every single time she walks the street, 15 years after, she's looking for her loved one. And that's how painful. It's a never-ending pain. And sometimes when you recover a body, that is what closure is about. It's the better of the two pains.
Yes.
And you're able to get over in some form of fashion when you're able to have a body to give that person a dignified funeral and you know what happened to the person. So in this case, we have to help the family. And I'm appealing to Tobagonians this morning because our search will resume just after I leave the studio. If it is that you know something or you would have spotted something, just jog your memory and see if you could assist us. Call any one of the police stations. Call 555-800-TIPS or our number at 799-1453 and give us some information which could lead us to locating Ishmael Roberts. It's very important because sometimes people see something and it's only if they're reminded or prodded or on a program like yours, they're able to say, okay, you know, Mr. Rambarat, I saw so and so. I think I could help you and it could give us a lead. But we want to really try our best to locate Mr. Ishmael Roberts.
So tell us, where would the search be taking place for the benefit of our viewers and listeners? Because I like the call that you've made. If you have seen something, you know, you might have taken it for granted, and you're very correct. Interviews and discussions like these help to jog persons' memories a bit. So I want you to remind our viewers as well, where would the search be taking place today?
Well, we're focusing on West Tobago, and the last place he was seen was in Scarborough. He went to the bank. He worked CPEP. He went to draw his salary at the bank just over the road, somewhere around here, right? And that's the last time he was seen. So what we do is that we normally would search from the area last seen and work our way outwards. So we would have covered areas as far as Annisville, Plymouth, down in Bethel and thing yesterday, and so we resume our search to continue the expanded search areas. So once you have information or you record something, just call the police. I know you have inspector with you on next from Scarborough Police Station. So, you know, just call Scarborough Police Station or the home station for this one is the Chevron Road Police Station.
All right. What would you say has been the general span of time, if you were to compare how short it took, you know, in terms of being able to come up upon and to be able to get to the point of identify? We found the individual, and you know, what has probably been your longest search in terms of a little more detail in the mix?
Oh, but that in Trinidad, we were able to recover a body after 40 days. And
40
days, and of course it was in an advanced stage of decomposition, and and to conduct a 5 day, sorry about that, to conduct a 5-day search involves a lot of resources. So what we normally would do is go 5 days straight, take a break, revisit, conduct a 2-day search, revisit. Currently, we dealing with 2 cases in Trinidad. It's been 25 days since Akisha Worrell, a young 32-year-old mother of 2. She's been missing from the Pity Valley area. And as soon as we get back to Trinidad, we have to go back on that case. And then you have 5 missing fishermen in Cedros. It's been quite a few days now, and as soon as we get back to Trinidad, we want to get back and rejoin and see how we could help these families. So really, Julian, is we don't ever leave a case. We don't ever leave a case.
You ensure that you work it right through.
Work it right, and so Dave Raphael, the father, had asked me, because we leave later on this evening to head home to Trinidad, and he said, is this the end of it? You are my hope. And I said, no.
Yes.
If we need to take a break and come back, then we have 2 members in Tobago who will continue to work with him and continue until we could sort out our home business in Trinidad, because we have families, and get back up here as soon as we can to continue.
So certainly the commitment remains no matter what until you get to that point of bringing some level of comfort. I'd like you to also, just to give the viewers that sense. I know you mentioned persons can reach out and connect with if required. I know you said you're an NGO organization, and that was just as you mentioned there in your last response. The question that came to mind for me is, this must take a lot of resources to make things happen. Where do you get that level of support to ensure that you can continue to be sustained? Because I honestly thought, before you mentioned it there earlier, that this was a paid engagement. When a family calls, that they pay you to assist in some way, form, or fashion. So how are you able to fund those operations? And yes, feel free to use the medium here if you want to call for people who are willing to contribute.
And I'm always making that call. We are largely self-funded organization. We depend on our pockets, and we provide the fuel. We do have a corporate sponsor on board in KFC, and I want to say thanks very much to them, because even yesterday, when we were finished together with the family at 6 p.m., we were able to come across the KFC in Scarborough and get some nice sandwiches to have for dinner. And so we have them on board. And we do have some sponsors who come on board, SNS Supermarket, 4 locations in Trinidad. And in Tobago, if it is that you want to come on board, you just get on our Facebook page. We're on Instagram. And our number is 7991453 to assist. We've been saying to people that we will come out and help. We're not looking at your background or your economic background. We come out to help regardless of color, creed, religion, or the circumstances under which the person went missing. Our motto is Closure Matters, and we say to these families, reach out to us. You may have no money, we will still come and help. But I want to say to you this morning that Dave Raphael did assist us with some of our transportation needs, and one, meals in between, and we're thankful for this. And sometimes the family are able to help us, and we pay some and they pay some, and we get the job done. We are an organization where we make a little go a long way. And we're very frugal in how we spend money, and we want to ensure that we continue to assist families. Julian, we've been in operation in three years now. February, we were 3 years old. And there is a need for such a service in Trinidad and Tobago. We've published our work. Our work is out there. And persons who drive policy must understand that there has come the time for an organization as ours to be part of the framework for something that is national. And lately I've been making the call. Why not have a national search and rescue team for Trinidad and Tobago? But I think Tobago is okay. I've seen the work of Alan Stewart with TIMA, and I am impressed, right? But there are different aspects, because I haven't seen them on the ground helping Raphael look for his son. So they need to expand, and we're offering training to those search volunteers in Tobago who need to be trained, who could take this search thing to a different level, at Tobago level, and improve upon it. But there must be, and I've been making this call, Julian, for a dedicated national search and rescue team that could come to the aid of families within minutes, right? Within minutes. Our model is one. You have a template. You can now follow that model. You have experienced personnel with us. Bring them on board and let us contribute to have a national search and rescue effort in the country. There's a need for it. Julian, we are out on a almost weekly basis. It started off slow, and as people got to know about us, we've been out there. You know, we came up for the oil spill as well, eh? And
Yes,
that's part
I
of the
recognize that that's another area, you know, in terms of, I don't know where do you all find time in between keeping up with the kind of efforts. And I think one of our viewers said it very nicely this morning, Rena Allen. I always thought that the organization was older, such an incredible contribution in such a short space of time. So where do you find the time in between that in terms of search and rescue to still also volunteer and offer those services outside of rescue missions?
Julian, when we looked at the oil spill, right? You know, we internationally train, we certified now. Okay. The oil spill provided an opportunity, apart from, all right, it provided an opportunity for training. All right. So we wanted to come up to Tobago and learn about how to handle an oil spill, how you prepare yourself to enter a contamination zone, how you work in a contamination zone, how you exit a contamination zone. And the opportunity was there. Yes, we did mop and scrape oil and assist in cleaning up the marine environment and the seacoast to try for Tobago to return to its pristine glory. But inside there, and then the key thing also is volunteerism.
Yes.
And I know Tobago was well organized, but it provided an opportunity for both young and elderly folks to come out and put in a 2 cents worth. Is our island. Patriotism is about belonging to something. So if you belong to Tobago, it was an opportunity to come and assist in the cleanup exercise, right?
Certainly, that is
and so
warmly welcome.
We promote volunteerism at all levels, and we encourage it. And then we say to ourselves, it is an learning opportunity. You have to be lifelong learners to survive today. And therefore, it was an opportunity to learn something, to help your island and to, you know, get along.
Certainly. And just before we close this interview, I'd want you to remind our viewers out there the search mission that will continue today. Just remind us where the search will take place and those continued efforts as you seek to really bring some closure. You know, I find you have described it in the best way possible to really seek to bring some closure, most importantly for the family and, of course, to aid the authorities in the work that they continue to do. So just remind us about that mission that you will be heading out on again today.
Right. So if you see us out there, we will be in the Signal Hill area, the Spring Garden area, the Lambo area today. And we want to head down to the Cove area. Although that area was searched, we still want to go in and see if anything was missed and progress towards the Crown Point area. And so if you see us out there, just hail us out, stop, say hello. If you have some information, talk to us. Call us at 799-1453 or 800-TIPS, call Scarborough Police Station, Chauvin Road Police Station. Pass on the information and we'll act upon it immediately.
All right. Thank you very much there, Valence Rambara, team leader for the Hunters Search and Rescue Team. And certainly we want to say commendations going out there. For such a short space of time, you're really making your contribution even as an NGO. And we do certainly note that consideration should be given at the national level for the establishment. And your model seems to be working in several ways, bringing some resolution to a number of the areas. So certainly we want to say commendations. And we are really looking forward at least to getting some results and bringing some level of closure in the circumstances. All right, viewers, once again, we want to thank you so much for continuing to choose the Tobago Updates morning show. And at this point, we remind you that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
No place like home, home, home.
Oh, I love Tobago, baby.
When we outside, it's an ocean of love. All that we align to the stars up above. Let we dance now, take a chance now with me. And we go jump till morning. Bacchanal is madness in the capital. So I feel like I'm running tongue again. Jump and shake the ground again. We with all my friends and them. No place like home. We go jump till the moon come down. It's we who the stars shine on. Play a mass and break away. Freedom in we DNA.
Your destiny. The best way to predict it is to create it. Do you see yourself exploring exotic destinations or spending quality time with family? However you see yourself, create your own retirement destiny with Tata Life's Destiny Personal Savings Booster. Choose from one of 3 investment options with guaranteed minimum investment returns to secure a monthly retirement income for life, with the option to choose your retirement age. So what's your retirement destiny? Call 62TATIL or visit tatil.co.tt to learn more today. Conditions apply. Tatil Life, a member of the Answer Makal Group.
Scrub Ties brings to you our organic fat dissolving shots. Yes, guys, our lemon butter shot breaks down stubborn fat, tightens any loose skin while increasing your metabolism. No side effects, no downtime. We also offer cavitation, cellulite treatment, butt, breast, hip dip fillers, weight loss, fertility IVs, and much more. Contact us on 495-6624 or follow us on Instagram at Scrub Ties Body Contouring.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers. We're just at about 7:38 a.m. and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. I'm Julian Skeet, and just before we head on in to this segment this morning, we want to give a quick shout out to our viewers on the live. We see Julia Brong with us this morning, Godfrey Moore, Shirley Cook, Melissa Moses, Zina Ramatali, Auntie Dora Lyon. Shout outs going out to you, Miss Carol Fraser Davidson. Good morning, good morning. Bukumatic Punchman in the mix with us. Pearl Murray Beard, one of our faithful viewers, AJ Allen. Good morning to each and every one of you. And we want to say thank you to all of you continuing to choose the Tobago Updates, a morning show, those of you connecting with us on social media, as well as those of you taking in us all the happenings here via Tobago Updates Television. And this morning, we continue into our interview segment with Inspector Mahalia Bacchus of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. And we're speaking about the crime update that takes place here weekly on the Tobago Updates morning show. And this morning, we're also speaking TTPS on investment fraud. Good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning, Julian, and good morning to your listening public. I'm happy to be here this morning.
All right. As we get the conversation started, you know the general cry coming from our population is, oh my God, what is happening in Trinidad and Tobago? And more so if you're from Tobago, what is happening in Tobago? Where are we seeing any potentials and leads in terms of into the challenges? I think my understanding is that we're just at about 5 now. In terms of murders and so on the island. Tell us a little bit about the progress and the efforts with the investigations on the part of the TTPS.
Well, Julian, I must say that the officers of the Tobago Division are hardworking and they continue to do their best to make a dent in crime on this island. I'm pleased to say that this morning we have a man who would be appearing before the court, being charged for one of those murders that took place on New Year's Day that was in the Patience Hill area. So we are doing our best and we have made some inroads in some of the investigations. What we want to do is encourage the public to assist and to support us. Wherever they have information, come forward, because without their help, a lot of things are not possible in these times with these things that are happening. So we want to encourage them to support us.
So, you know, we oftentimes say Tobago is a very small place. Can you reassure the public that when you come forward and you call somebody you know in the TTPS, that there should be no fear for your life as an individual sharing that information?
Yes, I can say that one of the things that we are focused on is to treat with confidentiality. And when persons bring information to us, we try our best to treat it with as much confidence as possible. Because at the end of the day, whatever we do, it will impact on that person as well as other persons in society and maybe my family as well. You know, so whatever we do, we treat all information in a confidential manner.
All right, and I know that there's also that working relation with Crime Stoppers, and so if people also want to call, can you give us the contact information, both to get to the stations, and in the event that persons want to share information also via the Crime Stoppers?
Sure. You have 555. You also have 6 station districts throughout Tobago. You don't have to leave a name if you want to give information. You could just call and leave the information that you want to share with us as well. We also take information through 211 in Tobago, which is a more direct call. Right here on the island, there's 999. Even though it goes to Trinidad, they would redirect the call to us here in Tobago, and the officers will act on your information.
All right, excellent indeed. So at this point, we want to dive on over as well to chat a little bit in relation to investment fraud. And I want to start by getting the perspective from you. Where does the TTPS fall into that equation? People hear investment and you think financial sector, you think I'm going to be doing well. Tell us particularly about the perspective when it seems not to be as legitimate as it should. And at which point do you ensure you get the intervention of the TTPS to assist?
Right. Well, the word you mentioned, investment, yes, it sounds like money, but at the end of it, there's the other word, which is fraud, right? So a lot of times people want to get money quick, and sometimes these things sound too good to be true. So we have to be wary. We have to be mindful. We have gone through a lot of different things in Trinidad and Tobago in terms of some of these Ponzi schemes. At one time, we had the Blessing Susu, which was very prevalent. And then persons recognized that my money went up, poof, after you made your investment. Recently, we had one, I could recall one of them, this Get FX or something like that. It left a lot of persons in financial turmoil and distress, right? Persons, they tend to come to you showing you how lucrative it is to make quick money by just putting in some quick investment. But when you look at it, everybody puts in, but you have no guarantee of you getting back. The person who receives all of it is the one who may benefit at the end, because at some point in time, when they have enough, they tend to cut you off, and that's where they disappear. Now, one of the questions I would have asked persons in the past, especially the GetFX, who is the person in charge of this? Who is the main person? Some persons can't answer you. All they know, they receive some communication. You could invest this amount of US and some money goes into into an account. And sometimes persons get carried away with this cryptocurrency. It looks like a lot, a quick money. You're seeing the money and you haven't been able to touch the physical money, and you believe that you could go cash out at some point in time. They lure you into getting the first part of it, and then after you're in trouble, because when they get enough, the persons remove all the money and they just disappear. You have nobody to reach out to. So in terms of the police, people come to the police after they would have lost the monies. And then now this takes an investigation where you have to go through getting information from the bank, where you would have placed the money. You have to try now to figure out who is the head of these companies, who are these persons. And by the time you do catch up on them, they are in another country or another jurisdiction doing the same thing all over again.
So you mentioned a really good point there. If it looks too good to be true, you kind of need to take a head start and do your related background. So what do you say to persons who probably might be in the process, you're being lured into this? Because you know how these things work. The average person, you don't say to them once, come and get involved in this. There's a level of persistence and follow-up on the part of those who are involved and they're a part. What is your guidance or direction to the average citizen that is in that situation right now of being encouraged to get involved with something of the sorts?
What I will say is that persons need to carry out their due diligence when it comes to some of these companies or persons who are coming to you to make these investments. Sometimes you work too hard for your money to just give it away so easily. You know, you have to look at where you're going to put the cash and what is the possibility of you really getting this large return in this very quick space of time. You understand? So you need to do some background checks on the individual, the company, to see how legitimate these persons are before you actually go ahead and place your monies into them. Also, we have persons really caught up with social media, and we have persons being lured into like things like romance scams. People scour the internet and they look for persons who they believe are vulnerable. And when you look at it next, you know, they're asking you for money. And persons go and they deposit monies to people all over the world. I've seen one as far as Africa, in Asia, these countries, and you don't know who you're sending the monies to, right? There are persons who are being lured by goods online for sale, phones, jewelry, a lot of stuff, and they go ahead and deposit monies in the bank, and then it's a challenge because you don't receive the items and your money is lost. You know, so people have to now go make a report to the police. You ensure that you get your receipt. And then, as I said before, it takes some level of investigation to get to the bottom of who is behind all of this.
You know, and one of the more popular ones in recent times would have been this grand susu. And not in the sense of your traditional susu, but this one that was multiplying times over and so on. And it took Trinidad and Tobago by storm far and wide. Would the TTPS have been able to make any significant leads in terms of holding individuals responsible? You know, we have the popular Suka and Calypso, everybody looking for the admin. You know, was there any real progress in that sense to be able to hold individuals directly accountable and to apply any charges also in the circumstances?
Thus far, I am not aware of anyone who would have been directly charged for any of the offenses. Only, you know, the grand one where they went into the house in Trinidad and they got the monies. But what I know is that because of it, there were laws and different things now being put into place to treat with some of these situations so that a person can't just sit in their home and just collect all these monies under that pretext that this is a susu, or in that general sense, because you're not, you know, the Securities Exchange Company, they have rules.
Yes.
So it's a bit more stringent now in terms of what people can or cannot do in circumstances like that.
All right. And in these circumstances, I know as well, just as you mentioned, the Securities Exchange, you now have an opportunity for you to check online to see whether or not these are legitimate and registered investment opportunities. So certainly you have that opportunity in doing your due diligence as part of the process. One of the areas we want to also touch on very quickly, again, for the benefit of our viewers and listeners, at which point should I get the police involved? Somebody's coming at me about this. Should I wait till I take my chance with my first investment and I have a receipt in hand? At which point is probably the best time if you believe it is an investment fraud?
I also believe that you could reach out to the fraud squad, because some persons are repeat offenders in terms of what they do and carry out some of these activities. So sometimes it might be someone known to the police who, before you actually place your money into their hands, you could find out if this person is anybody that has already engaged the police attention, that they are carrying out any active investigations pertaining to. Sometimes it helps us in terms of being proactive to stop this person before they get other persons involved. You know, so you could actually reach out to find out if this is a person known to the police. And as I said, you also mentioned it, do your checks online, find out the legitimacy of some of these companies or the persons behind them to ensure that you are placing your monies into the hands of someone who is bona fide.
What is the ideal situation for the police if you really do end up in trouble? This time I'm already far gone. I in the thing already, I put in money, and I'm upset now that it is not transitioning in the way it should, and I'm coming to make a report. What kind of information would assist the police to be able to pursue an investigation of that nature, given, you know, it falls within those kind of constraints regarding, as you mentioned, investment fraud? It's not exactly person A and you go to find person A in that village. What is critical information that the police will assist the police, rather, when I'm coming to make such a report?
All right. So what will be important to us is the means by which you made this investment, in terms of whether it's online, you were communicating on WhatsApp, Did you make bank transactions, that kind of thing, because that paper trail is what will help us to understand or to lead to the person who might be involved in what is taking place. Now, some persons believe it's a poof and overnight you get the information. You have to do a lot of writing. You have to go through the financial institutions, because if you deposit money in the bank, you can't just go ahead and just try to find out information about that bank account number. You have to write. You have to do a lot of investigations in order to get to the bottom of it and to receive the information that you need to get in order to be able to bring the person before the court.
Certainly. So I want folks to understand you get the due process that has to be involved. So in the same way you expect and you're hoping that the TTPS will do it for you in one shot, please pause and take that same kind of responsibility when you are investing your hard-earned dollars. Before we wrap this morning's interview, I want to get, what is your clear message going out there to persons who, and I like to say, persons who either at that point of, I saw the ads and I was thinking about it. You know, I just make my first investment yesterday and I now seen Inspector Mahalia Bacchus on screen. How do you respond to that person? I just make my investment yesterday. They're seeing you on screen now and they're now doubting themselves and wondering, is this thing really serious? Can I make a report? Should I call them now? Should I wait and see if it comes through? What's your advice to that person?
I would say to persons out there, you need to think before you act. You know, as I said before, carry out your due diligence. It is not too late in terms of if you just put it there. You need to come and check the police to ensure that this person is not someone known to them in terms of those fraudulent activities, to see who this company is. As you mentioned before, do your checks online in terms of security exchange services there to ensure that these persons are registered and legitimate business persons.
All right, excellent indeed. And I see one of our viewers shouting out here, good morning, Inspector Mahalia Bacchus, Carol Fraser Davidson. And, you know, I just want to take the opportunity very quickly before we close to get a perspective from you. We just celebrated International Women's Day. We're diving off topic just a bit. You know, what did that mean to you? Certainly as an upstanding young woman in the field, people look forward and look up to you and so on. The name is certainly known. Tell us a little bit, what did that mean for you in terms of the continued celebration of our women in society?
Well, I was deeply motivated by the past sessions that we had as in law enforcement. We had a symposium on Thursday. We had a lot of speakers. One of our ACPs came from Trinidad. She came to motivate. The theme this year was inspiring inclusion. So when we do these activities, we don't just have the women police only. We invite officers from the fire services. We have security agencies. Amalgamated was there. Dominion was there. We had persons from the Defense Force, the Coast Guard, the Army. A variety of different women made up this symposium. We also had a street parade, which was done on the Friday. We took it a little different this year. We went down to the west. So we marched to the Calvary Road Church. One of the things we love to do is to give God thanks for the opportunity to celebrate. And we plan not to just make it that one day only, but continuing throughout the year that we have these inclusive events with all the women and to bring in other stakeholders. We also had ladies from the assembly as well participating with us. So it was a great event. And on Saturday, we went to Barcode and had a little social where we had karaoke and so on. And it was fun. You know, and we want to say to women, as I always say, we need to support. One of the things that was resonated from the church service is that they were saying, when you see another woman's crown, if it's leaning, you know, don't talk about how it looks. Go ahead and fix it. So I want to echo that this morning to all the women out there. Let us be each other's keeper.
Excellent. She could not have said it any better indeed, viewers, and particularly to our ladies out there coming from certainly one phenomenal woman to each and every one of you on the outside there. I love that indeed. Remember, if you see that crown shifting a little bit, rather than take the time out and try to talk about how it looks, you go and assist your sister one time in terms of fixing it. And, you know, it ties very much into the point that I always make folks. No matter how much we try to out the candle of another, it will never make our candle burn any brighter in the circumstances. So therefore, we got to work together. We got to work with each other. And I want to thank you very much again, Inspector Mahalia Bacchus. And very quickly.
Yes, before we go quickly, there's a problem emerging in the Scarborough district. Well, throughout Tobago on a whole, where we have some vendors taking over our pavements and also on the highway. So I just wanted to use this opportunity to highlight to them that these are offenses. You can't vend on the highway, and it's a risk, right? When you look at the vehicles that are pulling aside on the highway there to purchase, it could cause an accident. And we're using the shoulder, which is supposed to be used for emergency purposes, to do that. So the inspector at the Scarborough Police Station, which is Inspector Prince, and myself, we'd like to have a conversation with some of these persons for them to understand that you can't vend on the pavement, you can't vend on the highway, because these things are posing a problem. And we see other persons just popping up all over, and we want to bring this to a stop.
Certainly important to note there, and that may be a very good opportunity. I'm suggesting here and said, as you mentioned, that we see them popping up all over. That may be a good opportunity to speak to and make that connection, even with the division for food production and the Shore Park Food Hub, to probably create that space so that all these persons in and around vending can now come to that central location where persons can visit. Thank you very much for that information, because I think sometimes we don't even recognize the risk. I have been guilty of it as well, and really it's a challenge sometimes to pull aside and then head back out and not recognizing. So certainly that's a conversation that will be helpful with the vendors seeking to come to some resolution, so that they do not continue to be involved in illegal vending in any way, form or fashion. Viewers, we want to say thank you once again to Inspector Mahalia Bacchus of the TTPS, certainly bringing us those updates here this morning. And we want to thank you very much, viewers, for continuing to choose the Tobago Updates morning show. We're going to leave it here for this morning, and we're heading on over to our Tobago Notes Info Division segment, and this will be followed by GMT with Candice Jackson.
Inventor of the U-Dazzle fashion ruler, Mrs. Rona Eastman Jack, is Tobago's foremost authority on intellectual property rights. She's sharing the benefit of her experience with Roxborough secondary students.
One of the greatest benefits is licensing my product to a company in Denmark. And if I didn't have the protection for it, he would not have taken it. So, and then I have the benefit of now looking to license in the United States. And even with my trademark, that's one of intellectual property rights. My trademark now is in multiple countries because of the Madrid Protocol. You have to have intellectual property, you have to have proof of ownership. And if you don't have proof of ownership, they will not take your product to license or sell it as an invention, because you could be an infringement on somebody else's own, and they don't want that. The companies that you license to don't want that problem.
It was inspiring to me that I got to meet one of an inventors from my country. So it was inspiring for me.
This year's theme is Women and IP, accelerating innovation and creativity.
If you have it protected, then you skip the having to prove yourself, and then you would be able to say, no, I have my trademark for this. I have an industrial design. I have a patent. I have my poems, or my book is copyright protected because it's original work. Your pictures are original. You know, you would be able to have those particular rights.
April 26th is World Intellectual Property Rights Day. Lectures were conducted at Roxborough Secondary School and Goodwood High School to mark the occasion.
That was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
a brand new morning. Rise up to a brand new dawning. As the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor to wake up and hear my neighbor. 60,000 people strong, and the vibes is never wrong. We are beauty, we are power. We are people in the sun. We are beaches, we are rivers. We are melanated ones. We special and there is no denying. Tobago is number one. I am you and you are me.
Welcome to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates, your source for current affairs in Tobago, Trinidad, and the region. With the perfect conversations to complement your morning routine, I am Candice Jackson, and let's get started with the news in 90 seconds. Chief Secretary Fali Augustine anticipates a settlement of outstanding payments to Tobago contractors this week. Vice Chairman of the Tobago Division of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Demijan Cruikshank, reported that funds were transferred on February 21st to the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries and Urban Development to pay contractors, several of whom are owed millions of dollars by the THA. However, Augustine stressed that the responsibility for issuing the payments to the individual contractors lie with the public servants for execution. Up next, Minority Leader Calvin Morris condemned the cancellation of the Tobago Jazz Experience, saying it is important to Tobago's economy. Speaking at a press conference yesterday, he noted that in 2017, an approach was taken by forming a stakeholder committee to evaluate challenges and create a roadmap for the improvement of the Tobago Jazz Experience. Morris expressed that the current THA administration's sudden cancellation of this year's Tobago Jazz Experience without proper consultation or analysis has raised concerns. However, Chief Secretary Fali Augustine has long criticized the economic viability of the THA hosting jazz, saying that instead it should be hosted by private promoters. And finally, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley has extended congratulations to Miss TNT World Ache Abraham. In a Facebook post, Rowley expressed gratitude for her exemplary representation of Trinidad and Tobago with class and poise. Meanwhile, opposition leader Kamala Pusabi-Sessa also conveyed her greetings to Ache Abrams for securing a spot in the top 4 of the Miss World competition. In a social media post, Pusabi-Sessa highlighted Abraham's achievement as one of the most significant events for Trinidad and Tobago in recent times. And that was the news in 90 seconds. Well, viewers, just getting straight on into our conversation this morning. Well, as you heard from the second story in our news, there are some concerns about the Tobago Jazz Experience and it being cancelled for this year. And of course, those were expressed by the Minority Leader, Kevin Morris, yesterday at a press conference. And I am being joined by him this morning on set with me to give us a little bit more perspective as we try to understand some of the challenges and why this decision might not be a good one. So good morning and welcome to you, Mr. Morris. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning, Candice. Good morning, Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm quite well.
All right, great. So let's get into it. You are in disagreement with the cancellation of jazz. So just, give us your viewpoint as to why.
So, Candice, for me, it is not what you've done, but it's how, the manner in which you've done it. And we can start from the sudden cancellation, which is about a mere 2 months before the actual hosting of jazz. And for a number of stakeholders, they would have been in the preparatory mode. Some people would have already invested, by in terms of car rentals. People would have been getting bookings, receiving down payments. You have hoteliers and guest houses already pre-booked. And so people would have made the preparation to receive their guests. And now because this sudden cancellation, there is a number of ripple effects in terms of people cancelling orders, even the flights and that kind of thing. Remember, Carl would have had to mobilize, put resources in place. You have Port Authority also doing the same. And more than that, what is very concerning to us is the reason. We are being told that the jazz is deemed to be not feasible and unsustainable. And we are asking the question, under what basis? Did you do a study? Did you put together some kind? Are there empirical data? Because the information we have is that while the THA will invest substantial sums into the jazz, the multiplier effect of that creates a economical stimulus that goes beyond the investment. It trickles right down to the man on the street, to all our creatives, our artists, to all our stakeholders such as the hoteliers, the people, the taxi drivers.
Mhm.
It has a wide and far-reaching effect and impact.
Now, you said that, this whole thing was sudden, but we've also heard from the Chief Secretary over the last couple of years of him discussing that, he thinks that it should be private sector led, highlighted some economic concerns and so on, and even said last year, when we did host it last year, that was just a fulfillment of a contract that was already in place prior to the pandemic. But of course, we know what happened when the pandemic occurred and all that sort of thing. So, but because those artists were already paid for, that's why they hosted it. So is it really sudden?
So, of course, this again demonstrates the lack of planning of this administration, their inability to properly plan. Because if, as you're saying that the Chief Secretary sort of hinted that they were transitioning, then you had ample time to make that transition in such a way that it would have been a seamless movement from public THA to private arrangements. And that just has not happened. In fact, there's a big void. Yes, persons perhaps are now trying to scramble to do things, but we have not had the commensurate marketing to have any kind of effect or any kind of impact. And I want to say this as well in response to the Chief Secretary, because we cannot continue to just make decisions by VAPs. And if you're making a decision, it cannot be about how you feel. I might have a personal feeling about something, but you have to do the kind of research, you have to do the kind of study, and also have the consensus, have the conversations. Did you consult? Who did you consult with? Did you consider? Because, for instance, the Chief Secretary is from Speyside, and the people of Speyside will be adversely impacted by this, because the guest house people, sometimes some people leave Speyside, go for a holiday and rent out their spaces, because there is a huge demand for guest house spaces in the East, for jazz in the East, because a lot of people stay the night, some people come the day before, so it creates a ripple effect in terms of multiplier effect and benefits for the people in the East. And we are seeing time and time again, a Chief Secretary coming from the East continues to sell the East short, because we have seen how they have dismantled the carnival to the point that the East no longer gets that benefit. And the people in the creatives are getting concerned because it is destruction of the carnival in February. We are now seeing, we were promised a bumper heritage. That has not happened. The heritage fell flat. In fact, it probably was one of the worst heritage in the history of heritage in Tobago. And now you're seeing a clear dismantling of a staple, which is the Tobago jazz experience. That jazz experience started in 2005, emerged as a staple along the way, created opportunities, created jobs, created money, put money in people's pocket, because it's not only when the THA invests this money, it's not only about bringing the artists. Remember, there are different caterers benefit, our service sector benefits. There are young men who would benefit from building up the stages, putting down the chairs and all that. So for the Chief Secretary to come and say that the jazz is not sustainable, then by his own argument, it means that the carnival is not sustainable, the heritage is not sustainable, Blue Food is not sustainable, because none of them are really to make a profit. What we hold festivals for is to create the enabling environment, attract people to come, and when they come, they have to stay somewhere, they have to travel somewhere, they have to eat somewhere, and that is how you create the economic impact.
All right. Now, there was something also you mentioned yesterday, and is that there was supposed to be a roadmap. There was a plan to sort of address some of the challenges, because there were challenges with the Tobago Jazz experience. Now, could you give us an idea of what some of those challenges were, and then what were the plans that were being laid out to address those challenges?
So in terms of that study, and that study was a cross-section of eminent Tobagonians, nonetheless, of one Mr. George Leacock as well. We know his ability in the cultural space in organizing. And they did a thorough assessment. They looked at revenues, they looked at all the challenges such as transportation, the availability of entertainers, the marketing. Marketing was one of the real challenges up there in terms of how you are able to market at an early time and be able to create that awareness, be able to secure your artists in a time that you can now advertise and all that. And so they highlighted all there's a list, and let me just for the edification of Tobagonians, I will try to pull it up. Okay. All right. Key critical success factors. So you had improve and expand festival, added revenue sources, strengthen corporate sponsorship and areas for corporation. So that would have taken care of, if you find THA is putting in too much money, then that is where the public-private partnership could have happened, where you now leverage the festival to corporate sponsors, just as was done in the first instance with Clico. So you could now look for corporate partners that will help to take away some of the burden of the THA paying all the money up front, carrying that financial burden. It talk about attract higher number and diversity of festival visitors. So being able to market even greater, because what they recognize is that the majority of persons who were coming from Trinidad. Yet, so it was about 80% of your visitors, 85% or so was coming from Trinidad. You had some coming from the diaspora, some from Europe and that kind of thing. Improve the advertising and promotion, so marketing. Deepen the collaboration and partnership with Tobago businesses, accommodation and concession. And so you had that kind of research going in, you had the studies going in, you had the areas of diversifying.
But
right?
was there also a plan developed to fix some of these challenges?
Correct. So while you identify the critical success factors, there were recommendations along the way. So, and it is what I would do on my social media page, I would share the link so Tobagonians themselves, because I'm not even sure if the secretary or the chief secretary, which is a document that resides in the division, even if they are aware of this report that is very detailed. And this tells me that this administration, I just want to go back to this, because too many times, too often, we are having decisions being made. And it appears is more like how I feel rather than what is the information, where is the data, what data is driving this. Have we done the research? Have we done the pros and cons?
But is the full report available? Because I do remember back in 2017 when the report was done and the media kept asking for the report of the administration at that point in time, we were not getting the feedback. Eventually got a summary of the report, but not the actual details.
Right. So I cannot speak for the administration and why the report wasn't made available or what would have been happening at that time, why they didn't make the full report available. But what I would say is that the information is available at this time. And if you're making a decision as significant as this, then it should not be an information made on emotions. It should be a decision made based on proper research and proper data. Because you're having situations where you're saying that it's not feasible, but have you done the feasibility study? On what basis have you determined?
Is there a feasibility study? Is there something that we could point to that says that it is viable and we really should be doing it?
So that is the work of the division. That is why you have, as far as I understand, the secretary have about 3 paid advisors, and then a number of technical persons, and then she has the availability to bring in a consultant. So on this matter that is so significant, I am concerned that, something that affects the lives of Tobagonians in that way, that the proper research, the proper approach wasn't applied. And I said, it's not what you do, but it's how you do. And they had ample time because, as you just said, the chief secretary indicated that he believed that perhaps this jazz might be better managed by private people. And if that is his belief, that ought not just become policy, a belief. You have to give people the opportunity, the stakeholders, because ultimately it is the people of Tobago. You're talking about a vast number of persons, restaurant owners, hoteliers, people into entertainment, bar owners. We're talking about taxi drivers, tour operators, because the tagline of the jazz was much more than music, meaning that we are not simply giving you, you're not just coming for a concert, or you're immersing yourself in an authentic experience where you get to experience all of Tobago, the food, the people, the environment, our natural beauty, and that kind of thing. And to deny persons that opportunity, I believe, I find quite reckless in the manner in which it was done.
All right, well, we're going to take a pause right there, but viewers, we're not done with Mr. Morris yet. We've got a few more things to discuss, so we'll be back right after this break.
Rise up.
It's March Madness at Standard. Distributors Limited. Get $100 back for every $1,000 you spend. Major appliance deals on Frigidaire, Hyacinth, Samsung, and more. Plus, same-day financing options available. Don't miss out. Sale ends March 31st. Standard. Never beaten on quality and prices.
Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning. As the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor to wake up and hear me neighbor. 60,000 people strong, and the vibes is never wrong. We are beauty, we are power, we are people in the sun. We are beaches, we are rivers, we are melanated ones.
Oh, welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Viewers, we are continuing our conversations this morning with the Minority Leader of the Tobago House of Assembly, Mr. Calvin Morris. Now, we were speaking about jazz before, but we're switching gears now to what's been going on with the Friendship Connector Road. So there was an injunction filed. The latest news is that there was an injunction filed by the Hearn family to have that road stopped, and the court granted an injunction to hear the case. And there are reports that work continues on the road despite the stop of the injunction. So what can you tell me about what's going on there?
Candice, let me say frontally, first and foremost, because there seemed to be an attempt to align the people's national movement to the challenges this administration is being faced with the road. Mm-hmm. And the challenges that this administration is facing has to do with the law and the agencies that enforce the law, mm-hmm. one being the EMA. And the EMA, I see some Tobagonians suggesting that the EMA is some tool of the central government. And I want Tobagonians to understand that the EMA is a statutory independent body that governs the administration of both the central government, mm-hmm. and the Tobago House of Assembly. That is one, frontally. Then you have our judicial system, the court, which is an independent, separate arm of state that has also ruled on this matter. Yet you're having persons trying to align the PNM to the outcome of those matters. And I want to distance the PNM. I want to distance the minority from that, because in the first instance, the person who raised concerns about this environmental impact, it was an employee of the Tobago House of Assembly, because the THA allowed a contractor to start a contract where they are bulldozing trees without the relevant CC clearance. And that was reported. And then you have a private citizen who felt disenfranchised from perhaps his property that is up for contention, took to the court about his grievances and raised concerns that here you have someone who is required via CC to have town and country planning, and the court agreed when the court asked if there was any town and country planning permission. The division had none. So you have a secretary managing a division that continues to infringe and disobey the law. And as you just to get to speed to what you just revealed, the reports coming to us even now is notwithstanding that there's an injunction that the court has decided upon this matter. The division orchestrated by the secretary continues to allow this contractor to go on site and to do work which is in breach of and contempt of the injunction. And if Tobagonians aren't concerned that as an individual, someone who took an oath to uphold the Constitution and the law, if they are not concerned that this person could so recklessly, so carelessly, so openly and arrogantly break the law, then I'm saying woe be unto us all in Tobago, because that should be of concern to every right-thinking citizen, regardless of which party you support.
Now, I just want to talk about the law a little bit, because this was a point that was brought up by the Secretary, Trevor James, when the matter was brought to him, and he was stating that in terms of the town country law, there are exceptions, and one of the exceptions is if there is improvements being done to an existing road. And from his standpoint, he said that, when his team checked that out, there was no need to have the town and country approvals because of the fact that the road already existed. They're just paving it and making it more accessible to the public. Do you have any comments where that is concerned?
So, Candice, I'm not a lawyer, and the place to argue law is in the courthouse. Okay. That matter was taken to the courthouse, and the court, through a judge, made a decision on that matter. So clearly the secretary's argument can't hold water in law. And because there's a judgment, what has to happen is that you have to obey the judgment. You have to obey the law. But clearly this secretary believes that he's bigger than even the judge. He's bigger than even the law, and continues to break the law by having persons down there operating. And that is a fact. I've had videos coming to me showing me excavator operating on site in breach of the injunction. And I do not know how a responsible chief secretary could allow a secretary to continue to be so disobedient, so deviant. What is the example are we setting for the younger ones? And perhaps this is why we are facing this situation with crime in Tobago as we are, because if you're seeing in front of your face someone who took an oath, someone who is empowered, that decides to so flagrantly break the law, then who am I as a normal man? How can these people as the executive come and talk about criminality when you are in fact conducting yourself in such a way that is in breach of the very Constitution and the very law?
Should the road be constructed?
So Candice, let me pitch this to Tobagonians. And I want Tobagonians, let us chat. Let us talk as Tobago people. Let us put aside which side or which color. But you have two scenarios. You have a road where you are getting 2 lanes, first ever in the history of Tobago. 2 lanes on the left side, 2 lanes on the right side. You are getting all the ancillary drains, roundabout, nice plants, rails. You are getting a utility corridor, so you're not seeing any poles up in the air. And that road is going to take you, as soon as you turn off from Shervan and you go into Cove and you turn onto that highway, you can get all the way down to Crown Point, right to the edge of where the airport would be, because it's going to take you all the way back. So it will become a real diversion from the main thoroughfare along the front area of Milford Road. You are getting that, and you don't have to pay a cent. Somebody is paying that bill for you. Conversely, you have a situation where you don't have the money. You now have to go and find somebody with the money. And that somebody now is inflating the value of the work they have to do because you are really taking a loan. So they are doing the work for you from their own pocket, and the road that they are billing for you does not even carry you half the way that the road you are getting for free. In fact, the road you are getting is going to take you right back into the very traffic that you are trying to alleviate and get away from. And for me, if I was a Tobagonian with that choice, I think the choice is clear. You have a road carrying you all the way down, dual lanes. You have a next road, single lane, carrying you back into traffic, $70 million of monies that you don't have. And it's now 70 million plus, because we have already paid $1.1 million in law fee. And because we have an injunction, perhaps you would have to pay additional monies to the contractor for delays. And that is something the secretary would have to answer in the House, because we're going to ask him the question if there are additional funds to be paid. And we will all find out. But you have now put yourself in a legal conundrum. All this going on when you could have simply accepted a road that was going to improve the lives of Tobagonians in such a way, and you didn't have to pay a cent. And I don't know about you, but for me, it makes absolute sense to have accepted this road that would have been given for free, and you would not have had to deal with the challenges. Because if there were challenges to come, whoever would have been managing that project would have been the ones to have to deal with that challenge. It's no different from the airport. We are getting $1 billion airport basically for free, because it is not the Tobago House of Assembly that is carrying the cost. It is the central government. And should we have basically say, no, we don't want the airport, we want to build it ourselves, and try to find $1 billion? No, you don't do that.
But have you also ensured that the airport has tongue and country approval? Because that's the accusation that's coming from Mr. James.
Well, that airport matter, and this is why we cannot continue to play butt washers on the side. We cannot continue to play basically armchair lawyers, because these matters have all been tried and tested in the court. You know, private citizens approach the court, and if that was the situation, that would have been dealt with at that time. So for Mr. James to be true, and you know, one of the challenges I take umbrage with Mr. James trying to tell Tobagonians that because, or if one side do it, then it's okay for the other side to do it. They campaigned, and the campaign they campaigned about was, let we fix this. And let we fix this to Tobago, and meant that anything that was being done wrong, we're going to correct those wrong, and we're going to do it better. Not the same, not lesser, but better. And this is a challenge when I talk to Tobagonians, where their disappointment lies, is by the fact that the very change for better that they would have voted for, it has not been realized by the actions of the people they would have put in place. And they have to come to that realization that Tobagonians demand more of you. Tobagonians do not demand the same. Tobagonians demand you doing things differently, and differently better, not differently worse.
All right. Well, that's where we're going to have to leave things this morning, because we're out of time. But Mr. Morris, I just want to thank you for being on with us and for sharing those perspectives. I know there's quite a lot more things in the air. So hopefully we'll see you again very shortly.
Yes, I'm always available to have a chat with you and the people of Tobago.
Certainly.
So anytime.
I appreciate it. All right. Well, viewers, we got to go for a quick break, but we'll be back because we got a whole lot more on GMT. Don't go anywhere.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawn. Hey,
journalist. Man, this in the capital zone. I feel like I'm running tongue again. Jump and shake the ground again. We with all my friends and them. No place like I feel like I'm running tongue again.
It's March Madness at Standard Distributors Limited. Get $100 back for every $1,000 you spend. Major appliance deals on Frigidaire, Hyacinth, Samsung, and more. Plus, same-day financing options available. Don't miss out. Sale ends March 31st. Standard, never beaten on quality and prices.
At JK Tech, we bring technology to your doorstep. From cutting-edge laptops to reliable printers, we've got it all. Nationwide delivery and a new website for easy online ordering. JK Tech is your one-stop shop for your electronics and computer needs, carrying top brands such as Acer, Samsung, HP, and much more. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at JK Tech TT or visit jktechtt.com. Quality tech is just a click away. JK Tech. Evaluate your shopping experience, your tech, your way. Call or WhatsApp 383-2651. Shop smart, shop JK Tech.
Hello everyone, it's your boy Harry here from Authentic Car Clinic, located right here in Tobago at Tobago Local Road. You can WhatsApp us or call us at 366-4173.
Place to stay in Tobago is at Thorn's Place with rates starting as low as 200 TT. Call or WhatsApp 745-7306 or 682-8676. We are located uptown Scarborough, 5 minutes away from the port. Remember, at Thorn's Place, our aim is to make your stay safe and affordable. Jimmy's Holiday Resorts has 1, 2, and 3 bedroom, fully self-contained apartments located at the heart of Crown Point. Minutes walk to the popular beaches, restaurants, bars, and the airport. Enjoy our amazing amenities such as fully equipped apartments, complete with Wi-Fi, AC, TV, and a pool, and a mini-mart on the compound. Call 639-8292 or 8929. Jimmy's Holiday Resorts is your family's home away from home.
Yeah. Hey.
Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago.
Let's go.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Viewers, now we are switching gears away from politics and into something a little bit more spiritual. So I'm talking about Discover Weekend in Tobago, and to give us an idea of what that is all about, what it entails, I am being joined by Miss Janet Parks, who is the coordinator of Mobilize Tobago 2024, and Pastor Rex Henry, who is a committee member of Mobilize Tobago 2024. So good morning and welcome to you both. How are you doing this morning?
Morning. We're doing good. Morning.
Great.
Nice to be here.
Great. So first of all, what is Mobilize Tobago?
Okay, so Mobilize Tobago is a movement in which we're trying to engage all the Christian believers, irrespective of your denomination, to come together to unite for the cause of Christ. It's very simple. We don't preach doctrine, but once you believe that Jesus Christ died, he rose, and he's sitting at the right hand of God, and that salvation is the way to heaven, you qualify. So it's a cause to unite the saints to make a change, to bring transformation to Tobago. Because as you can see, a lot of things are going south, as we say.
Yes.
And the church needs to now arise. And that's basically what it is, to mobilize the churches, come outside the walls, forget the barriers, let's unite and start to make a change.
And how are we going to go about executing this change? What is this change going to look like?
Well, the process by which nations go through changes is things that are often called revivals or refreshings or visitations from God, that kind of thing. That is often a process by which sometimes if you get really, really fed up with what's happening in your country enough and you pray enough, there's often a change in the atmosphere that facilitates a movement of people coming together essentially to pray for that change. You get momentum. Once you get momentum, you get help. Every local church, every pastor, every community, every religious group right now is struggling for help. They're struggling for finances, they're struggling for help. So on one hand, you have a depletion of resources and manpower, and on the other hand, you have an increase in the challenge. You have more people dying, you have gang violence in Tobago, you have a number of things that are happening. So often enough, sometimes in a process like that, you get a intervention from God, if you will. And then when God intervenes in your society, He tends to bring people together across denominational lines. That causes a momentum, and it makes the individual grouping or pastor's job much easier. And that ease that you want to get comes from creating the atmosphere in which you get the momentum you need to reverse what's ailing you as a society.
And so you're going to be doing this through a discovery weekend. What would this weekend entail?
All right, so the Discovery Weekend is a weekend of training because part of the process that we have found in coming together is that there's need for training within all the churches. So before we could even get to the Discovery Weekend, we started with what we call spiritual mapping, where we encourage each assembly to look introspectively at themselves. What is going on within me? What's going on within my assembly? What's going on within my community? So the approach we're taking is training. So the Discovery Weekend is also training to retool, to equip, to educate the body of Christ so that we can be on the same page. Because as you know, everybody has their own doctrine and so on. So what common principles can we all embrace to make sure that when we go out into the communities, which is where the thrust is, to move outside of the church walls, what will be that common language that will define us as a group of people called by God?
You know, when we look at society today and just the weight, and you mentioned crime and all those things, all those social ills that are affecting us, you know, one of the questions was, you know, what is the church doing? What can you tell us about how the church has perhaps fallen short in their role as a sort of a help in the community, a sort of a guidance in the community to make sure that, you know, our people stay on the straight and narrow?
One of the challenges I think that pastors had, and I think over the last 30 years, I would like to sort of put Tobago into some groups of 30 years, if you will. So Tobago had what would be considered a quote-unquote revival in the 1960s. And out of that, you had, that was like the Pentecostal one. There was this massive growth of Pentecostal churches. And Tobago saw literally thousands of pastors leave Tobago and impacted the world. There was a gap, and then in the 1980s, you now had a second movement in which you had more explosions, more visitations, great speakers coming in, big crusades, that kind of story, in which the culture of the nation changed. Most of the time, what happens is that sometimes we tend to forget that it is the sociological issues associated with that community that the church actually has to address. So in the Old Testament, there's a statement about every valley needs to be raised and every mountain needs to come down. It's the idea of leveling the community's ills in such a way that you actually institutionalize the change. So yes, you're doing something good in your local church, but until you've institutionalized it, you tend to eventually kind of slide into the way of the rest of the community. And so everybody's got a car, and then your focus changes on getting a car, a house, your own personal needs met, educating your children, that kind of story. And then what happens is that once you start looking internally and you don't see the strengthening of your community as part of your own empowerment, eventually the rest of the community kind of falls away into trying to survive on its own. And you then end up with a new set of leaders who see church as a way for personal advancement rather than a community responsibility that they have, what we call a calling. And once you move away from that, and then the society in itself, sometimes even in the governmental system, they see opportunities there. And I think sometimes things that NGOs are doing, churches are doing, community groups are doing, government then says, oh, this is an opportunity to advance something the government is doing, and then they take over because they have the funding. So rather than give the funding to the private sector, they attempt to do it as the state. When funding goes down because the economy goes down, what happens is that the state can no longer fund it. So now the group who was doing it, they don't have the funding. Churches don't have the funding. And the state doesn't have the funding. So now we ended up with a social gap. And you get a lot of people falling through the cracks in the process. There's also, if you have leaders who's 1 and 2 leaders in the mix sometimes, that's all you need to kind of spoil the reputation for the whole. And then if you have a retooling of the society where the focus of attention and resources moves away from the local church, most people do not see the need to strengthen a local church until there's trouble. And then that question emerges. What is the church doing? But when the society is doing well, everybody says, well, you know, pastors are all crooks and they're stealing money and they're doing this and they're doing that. And, you know, camps are bad and, you know, carnival camps, all these things are bad. And we criticize these institutions that are there. But it is those institutions that actually are the mechanisms for keeping your society on track. There was a time in Tobago where everybody went to Sunday school.
Yeah.
Everybody. By restructuring your society, you've dismantled those institutions. So now you end up with a whole bunch of kids in school that have no institutional knowledge of religion or God or anything like that. And they're the ones not knowing how to cope when they're bullied in school. So you end up with the stabbings, you end up with all the stuff that's going on. So strengthening back the community, the church as the institution, and those institutions that come out of those churches is a key part of rebuilding for the next generation.
And also, you know, we're living in an age that's very different from what it was 30 years ago. And how different is it now? And how much do we or how much do leaders of the church need to adjust their methods to be able to better reach the community?
Okay, so that is part of why we did what is called spiritual mapping. Because first of all, we need to be more outward in our approach. The Bible actually says, go out into the world. And a lot of pastors expect people to come in. So that's one of our first challenges, to reverse that, to go back out into the communities. So one of the things that we're planning to do, actually we have already zoned all the churches in Tobago. And in time, we're going to ask them to visit their community, look seriously at their community and see what those needs are. In other words, is incest known to be rife in your community? Is there prostitution in your community? Is it a case where there is alcoholism and domestic abuse? So that the church needs to now get their hands dirty, because we need to go and do the homework and find out what's happening next door to my neighbor. And as a result of that, we're going to ask the zones to come up with a sustainable community project, whether it's to do a soup kitchen, whether it's to go into a home for the aged and comb people's hair, whatever it is, has to be sustainable so that people can once more recognize we are the church and we are making a difference. So that's the short answer, that, you know, in terms of us really, we have to remodel ourselves. We have to get people to recognize us that, yes, the church is alive and well, and we care, we are compassionate, because we have lost that, Candice. That's the reality. We have lost it.
Yes, certainly. And, you know, what's the importance, too, of just being able to come together? Because, like you all mentioned, there's so many denominations within Tobago, in this little island. There's so much fragmentation within the church itself.
Yeah, well, there comes a point in time in societies evolve, but churches evolve, too. Tobago's religious history, I think, goes back to somewhere around 1700s. We've got the Moravians were here around 1719. I think one of the first great evangelistic songs to hit the world came out of Tobago in about 1790 from Moravia. from the Moravian Church in Montgomery. So what we have is a very long history of engagement. What I think we need to happen as we evolve is that sometimes with every spiritual movement, evolution occurs. And that evolution that is occurring is a process by which when you get that movement, people begin to change what can be done. So change sometimes takes about a 30-year shift because it's cultural, people have to grow up in it. I could pioneer an idea. Well, let me use a scripture to kind of justify the point. Jesus said that John the Baptist, from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven has been forcefully advancing. But it talks about he who was in the kingdom is greater than John the Baptist, meaning that John the Baptist pioneered the idea of change, but he himself never became a part of it. Sometimes the people who are pioneering ideas never enter into them. They never become a part of that cultural shift. It doesn't embrace them in a way because they are operating in old programming. So it takes about a 30-year shift because the children are coming into it are native to that. So babies are now born are native to phones. Parents who are busy will put the phone down and go work. And then they say, we'll be calling you whole day and you answer the phone. They say, well, I wasn't born with a phone on my hip. I'm working. You know what I mean? So that shift is something that is cultural. You kind of have to grow up in it. And if you want to see change, you have to think long term. What are the sociological issues? What are the data-driven decisions that need to be made? For example, I think the CSO just gave out a statistic. Their new numbers just came out last week. Interesting from just cursory observation. If you calculate the movement of people over 80, Trinidad and Tobago has lost in the last 18 years, I think, about 70,000 people. But most people in Trinidad and Tobago do not live till 80. So if our population 20 years ago was 1.3 million people, and we're now at 1.367, after 20 years, our population has stagnated. In biblical economics, that is considered a curse on the land. So our statistics say about 15,000 people immigrated to the US. The Americans say they've had 63,000 applications in that time that they granted. So there's a disparity in terms of where people have gone. And without the data that Sister Jana is talking about, you're not seeing exactly what's affecting your community and how do you retool a new generation. And then when you've decided where God is going in the next generation, when denominations need to pool together, how do we reinvent ourselves? And then we've had to come away from what is called colonization, which is that somebody somewhere else is determining the direction for your nation or your community or your church based on what's happening at home. And so if you've got to shift that, let's use the Anglicans as an example. There was a point in time in Australia where the Anglican Church in Australia did not use its liturgy, and it was exploding. And the headquarters in England decided it was not in their interest to impose the liturgy of England onto the Australian church. And so they were allowed to freely grow, and that was their fastest growing area. So that's the kind of data-driven adaptation you have to do if you want to survive.
And of course, I mean, before we go to the break, I just want to give the chance to the public to know how is this going to roll out in terms of how people are going to get connected with this movement, this Discovery Weekend movement, the Mobilize Tobago movement?
Okay, so we have a database of most churches in Tobago. In doing the exercise, I was quite surprised. I was alarmed, actually, that we actually had so many churches. So we have sent the information out. I think we have more or less covered most assemblies. But certainly, if you did not receive a package from us, because we have been going on since August 2023, we're now in March 2024, please contact me. My number is 788-3588. But I think every pastor of the Christian faith should have a package or some kind of information from us. So basically, all we want is for them to just respond and join the movement.
All right, great. Well, we're going to go for a break, but viewers, we're not done yet, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back after this. It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawn.
Everybody only worrying. Never ever worry. Don't mind how things looking hard. I tell them never ever worry. If your nice car get damaged bad, I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider Tatil is always right here for you. Never ever worry if sickness catch you off guard. I tell them never ever worry if times fall on you real hard. I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider Tatil will always be here for you. Never worry about a thing. Tatil, where people are people. You know what I mean.
It's March Madness at Standard. Distributors Limited. Get $100 back for every $1,000 you spend. Major appliance deals on Frigidaire, Hyacinth, Samsung, and more. Plus, same-day financing options available. Don't miss out. Sale ends March 31st. Standard. Never beaten on quality and prices.
Rotisserie, mouth-watering fries, salads, combos, and specials galore. Feeling for something to eat? Come and see. Our rotisserie is seasoned to the T. Kicking chicken, masala, and jerk roast. Crispy fries made from scratch. Who do you know can beat that? Or salads freshly cut and packed. When you taste it, you'll be wanting to come back. So come check us out on number 2 Robinson Street, Uptown Scarborough, Tobago. We open on Saturday nights from 7:30 to 11:30 p.m. Monday to Thursday, we're open from 10 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. and on Friday, 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Contact us at 772-7443 and all social media handles at The Rotisserie Factory.
Scrub Ties brings to you our organic fat dissolving shots. Yes, guys, our lemon butter shot breaks down stubborn fat, tightens any loose skin while increasing your metabolism. No side effects, no downtime. We also offer cavitation, cellulite treatment, butt, breast, hip dip fillers, weight loss, fertility IVs, and much more. Contact us on 495-6624 or follow us on Instagram at Scrub Ties Body Contouring. Number 13B, Portmore, Scarborough, Tobago, with over 25 years experience offering services in and not limited to microscopic blood analysis, reflexology, and the sale of a wide range of organic herbal products used to supplement thyroid, lymphatic, heart, kidney, and brain health, and the male and female reproductive systems. Come and chat with us. Remember, your health is your wealth.
Hey, hello guys, welcome. Come have a seat. Oh, this is so stylish and I love the fabric. Darlings, you must tell us where you got your new furnishings.
We got them locally at Standard. They've got new chic European furniture, crafted from high quality material.
Oh, Standard?
No, it's Standard, their brand new Hive collection.
Experience luxurious European furniture at a price you will love. The Hive collection, now exclusively available at Standard.
Yeah. Hey.
Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning. As the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Viewers, we are continuing our conversations this morning about the Discovery Weekend, an attempt to bringing all the churches together to see what we can do about how we can retool ourselves in terms of being able to better meet the needs of the community within the Tobago space. So now, I'm still being joined by Miss Janet Parks, and she is the coordinator of Mobilize Tobago 2024. But I'm also being joined on set with Dr. Elizabeth Primus, and she is one of the facilitators of Mobilize Tobago 2024. And I'm being joined online by Reverend Larry Lane, who is the director of Journey to Transformation, the Centennial Group. So good morning and welcome to both of you. Well, three of you, but yes, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning again.
All right, so just tell us a little bit about being involved in this project. I'm going to start with you, Dr. Primus, to give us an idea of being involved with this Discovery Weekend and being one of the facilitators on board.
All right. Well, I've been working with the Sentinel Group for the past 3 years, and the Sentinel Group is a group of people who are filmmakers or documentary, working in documentation, and ministers to equip God's people to prepare them to see a transformation and revival happen. And so I have been working with the Sentinel Group over this time, and the Discovery Weekend is really a critical aspect of the journey to transformation, which is to prepare God's people to see a revival happen in their communities. And so the Discovery Weekend is a result of 15 years of research, and it will be held in Tobago on Friday coming March 15 from 4:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. and on Saturday from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. It will be held at the Scarborough Youth Development Center, and which is on 617 Piggott Street, Old Market Square, next to the New Testament Church of God. And so I would like to invite Mr. Larry Lane now, who is the National Director for the Journey to Transformation with the Sentinel Group, to tell us some more about the Discovery Weekend and the work of the Sentinel Group. Larry.
Well, it's wonderful to be with you here. I've been enjoying listening to the program, getting to learn a little bit more what's going on. It sounds a lot like the U.S. with a level of frustration and discouragement and may even see in some cases hopelessness. That actually is the kind of foundation that often is a precursor for God doing something as the people of God realize that, these problems are getting too big for us to fix. And we need divine intervention. We don't have enough in ourselves, the resources, whatever, to make these changes. So the Discovery Weekend, as Dr. Primus has said, is based on years of research into these moves of God that have taken place over church history. And more recently, we studied about 800 cases around the world. And these are not just a religious excitement that suddenly the people get caught up in. These are when God draws near to a community, and actually everything changes. Everything changes. Let me just give you a couple examples just to whet your appetite for what God has done. I think over in the community of Amalanga, Guatemala, there's a community of about 20,000 people that have become very desperate with crime, alcoholism, the abuse and so forth that came out of that. And they began to cry out to God, and God drew near. And I can tell you, as a result of that, listen to some of the changes that took place there. Prior to the revival, there was 4 jails, and they were overflowed every weekend. They had actually bus people to other communities to house the jails. After the revival, every jail closed. There was no more crime. Before the revival, their economy struggled. They were an agricultural community, and they were exporting about 4 trucks a month with produce. After the revival, and to this day, they're exporting about 40 trucks a week. When God comes and draws near to the community, he changes everything. He starts with the hearts of people, and then changes everything through them, beyond them. He does what only he can do. And we can, come up with all kinds of programs and so forth. But the reality is our problems are larger than what we can fix. And so the Discovery Weekend, it just unpacks basically what we've learned in studying all these cases and finding out what is it that attracts God? What is it that draws him near to our community? What is he looking to God's people to prepare for him to come? And so that's what this is about. And then when he comes, everything changes. And certainly we're engaged in that process as well. But really at first, it's all about him and what his presence alone can do. Now, I could talk on and on, but maybe I'll give Dr. Primus or someone else a chance to ask a more specific question.
Part of this is, of course, we're talking quite a bit about revival, but there are 3 aspects to the revival that you guys are talking about and you guys are hoping to impart onto Tobago. So give us an idea of what those 3 phases are about.
Well, the first phase initially is an invitation phase where people who in the community who are hungry for God will cry out to God and in desperation, asking him to come. And it involves a process of purifying one's heart as well too, so that in preparing for God's coming, which is in the second phase, in preparation for his coming, one has to be involved in repentance, personally, in family, church, corporate repentance. But essentially in every revival that they've observed around the world, there were a group of people who were crying out to God, inviting him to come and visit their communities. And then in the second phase of the Transforming Revival is called the awakening phase. In the awakening phase, the presence of God descends and his presence is felt everywhere. And it brings about a transformation in the hearts of the people so that they may spontaneously begin to fall to their knees to repent and ask for forgiveness. And this is not just something that happens to one person or 2, but it happens within a particular geographic area. And it's very dramatic, really, when it happens, because it's not something that we can create ourselves, but God comes and visits the communities. And then in the third phase, there is what we call transformation phase, where all the spheres of society are transformed to become the kingdom of God, where leaders begin to repent for their own personal sins, and there is a transformation to a more biblical view of how the spheres should function. And so we describe it as the kingdom of God being established in all the spheres of society. And this has happened in many places around the world, like Fiji and Cali, Colombia, and Uganda, Guatemala, and other places. So it is a reality that something can actually happen.
Certainly. And then, of course, at the end of it, it's being able to make some actionable plans that we can execute within the community. And tell me about, just giving our church leaders that support or helping them to understand what would be the best form of action within their communities to have.
So I'd ask Larry to answer that question. Yes.
Oh, thank you very much, Elizabeth. I think what's hard to comprehend and something we need to underline is that when God draws near, the way he changes the hearts of people and begins to shake every institution in the community, that what the church does following this visitation is, in a sense, they begin to listen to God, and God gives them wisdom and gives them a way to go about. But it moves so much easier, more quickly, because hearts of people have already been changed. Yeah. So, it's like they're rubbing the values, the things that God is doing into society in every element, and it occurs, it happens. What we try to do now, it feels like and I think you'd understand this, we're trying to push boulders uphill, we're trying to make change, and it's so hard. But after visitation from God, it becomes incredibly easy, and the change comes about wonderfully. And it's a sense of we're stewarding what God has done in the hearts of people, and now we begin to roll that out into society. So I could not absolutely tell you at all what is the one thing we can do, because we haven't had a visitation yet. And until God draws near, our efforts are well-meaning and good, but it's difficult. And we need to be involved and engaged. I'm not saying we should stop doing everything and just pray. But until God comes, these efforts will struggle. They'll be difficult to bring about the change we want to see. After God comes, and that needs to be our focus, then God will make it very clear, and He will begin to do things that only He can do, and the body of Christ will sort of like follow His lead, and we'll see those changes. So it'd be nice to tell you, oh, here's the program to follow right now, but we're not there yet.
Mm-hmm. And Ms. Sparks, could you give us an idea of, why you thought, or why you and the other leaders here in Tobago thought it was a good idea to have this team on board, the Centennial Group on board and so on, and, work with them or use some of their principles and so on to see if we could plan a way forward for our church leaders here in Tobago?
Okay, so very quickly, the Mobilize Tobago concept came about from Bishop Roy Miller, who is of the New Testament faith, and but he resides abroad, a Caribbean man, Jamaican by birth. He had 6 heart attacks. So very quickly, his 6th heart attack, he basically was given a message. You need to mobilize the church, starting with Africa and the Caribbean. Now, he is the overseer for churches in Trinidad. He's a personal friend and so on. So when he visited last August, he said, listen, his spirit is troubled. He needs to do what God has instructed him to do. He needs to start to mobilize the Caribbean because he was coming in from Africa where he had already fulfilled that mission in terms of starting that process. So he planted the seed, and that seed happened to have fallen into my lap. And, God, we can't figure God out because we have been praying for this to happen for 30 years, 30 long years, Candice. So that it's not a personal effort. It's not a one-man show. So right away, we got a cadre of pastors together. We had the conversation. Are we prepared to work through this process? And yes, we had maybe 12 of us who said, yes, we're going to go ahead with it. And for me, it's a God thing. God needs to send help. And that was my first prayer. God, I don't have a clue where I'm going. I'm not a pastor, whatever. Send help. And he answered in short order, and he sent her through Dr. Elizabeth Primus, who has all the connections. And, that's how God works in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform. So, yes, we have now formed that partnership, and I'm so grateful because they have the material, they have the history, they have not just Reverend Larry Lane, but Pastor Ricky Bradshaw will also be joining us. And they have a whole host of training materials that we need so desperately, so that was perfect, a perfect partnership, so it was all God's doing.
Certainly. And, as we're getting ready to wrap the conversation this morning, I just want Pastor Reverend Lane and even Dr. Primus to just give us an idea of just the fact that you guys are coming to work with Tobago, but you're not coming to impose any sort of methods or anything like that. It's just trying to help Tobago church leaders figure out what is the best thing that they need to do within their community to make the impact that they need to do, and also what they need to be able to help them retool the way that they are leading the churches.
I guess I'll speak first and then let Elizabeth speak. Again, I think it's difficult for most people to get their brain around the idea that God can actually come near, make his presence felt and known in such a profound and powerful way that impacts an entire community and a region undeniably and so powerfully and profoundly that we are so prone to want to run to some sort of activity. But we need to get God to draw near. Above all else, Tobago needs God to draw near, to reveal himself to the hearts of people, reveal himself again to the church, to awaken the church, to revive the church, and then for it to flow out into the community. So if there's a one thing, it's time for the church, and this is about the Church of Tobago. This isn't about any outside people. We work all around the world, so this is not an American thing or anything like that. This is a God thing, and that is to understand what it means to prepare the way of the Lord. What is it he is looking for before he will come? And that's what the Discovery Weekend's about, and that's the agenda of God for the coming weeks and months for Tobago.
All right, and Dr. Primus?
Well, in closing, I would like to invite you to register for the Discovery Weekend. And to register for the Discovery Weekend, you can call or WhatsApp 868-488-6504. That's 488-6504, or you can WhatsApp or call 380-5243. Or you can email mobilizetobago@gmail.com, and we'll send you a link to register online or via registration form and send you the payment instructions. The cost of this weekend training is $300 TT. And so we look forward to really seeing you on Friday, March the 15th at 4:30 p.m. at the Scarborough Youth Development Center, 17 Pigott Street, Old Market Square, Scarborough, next to the New Testament Church of God. And I encourage you, don't miss this life-changing experience, which will equip you to see transforming revival come to Tobago.
Great. And any closing words, Ms. Barks?
It's just an appeal to the pastors. Let's come together under the banner of Jesus Christ. I know it's difficult. I know we have been fragmented. I know we are busy. We have our agendas. But I'm just appealing to you. Just step out of the crease for once. Come together and let's see what we can do to really play our part, because God is going to hold us accountable at the end of the day. So I just want to encourage the pastors. There's no need to fear. As a matter of fact, our goal is to complement and supplement what you are doing, right? So you're very welcome to join Mobilize Tobago.
All right, great. I want to thank you all for being on with us this morning, and we're certainly looking forward to see the outcome of this Discovery Weekend and to see some change happening within our community. So thank you again.
Thank you so much, Candice.
And viewers, thank you for joining us this morning on GMT. It was wonderful to be with you guys again this morning, and I hope you have a safe and wonderful day in whatever you do, and we will see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.
To a brand new dawning as the passion start to rise.